Hey guys, this is Griffin Miguel, and I am back here again making you guys another video, and I hope you guys enjoy it. So guys, before we get started with the video, I just want to say that the reason why this video wasn't posted on the day that this legendary superstar and great legendary wrestler that died, the reason why I wasn't able to post this video on the day that he died is because work just got crazy. I wasn't able to post any work, and we got out late, and like this whole week was just like busy. So because of that, I was not able to post any videos on the day that this legendary wrestler died, and so on. So good thing is that today is the day I'm able to post this video up, and possibly it's Monday, so it's kind of a I know it's 4 days late that this news came out, but you know, I just wanted to come up here and pay my respects to this great wrestler, and I didn't want to be that kind of person that just ignored his death and just like you know, just forget about it. I'm not that kind of person. I'm the kind of person that brings out news and tell you guys all the stuff that happens. So yeah, that's what it is. So anyways guys, I just want to say that I apologize for this video coming out late. It's just work has been crazy, but you know what? That's how life is. So it's hard. But you know, what can you do, right? But now, guys, since we've got that out of the way, I just want to come up here, guys, and say that we just got some sad news. And that sad news is one of the greatest wrestlers in the world, one of the most respected, one of the most legendary wrestlers in WWE and in the entire world, Bruno Sammartino has passed away at the age of 82. Yeah, guys, Bruno Sammartino has passed away, and man, just to hear that news, it was just like a shocker, a real shocker. And let me tell you guys what a shocker is, because the day that this news broke out, I'll tell you guys what happened. I was just right there at work, relaxing just a little bit, because my dad went to go ahead and pick up some stuff, and I had to go ahead and take care of the truck. And if you guys don't know what I do landscaping and tree service with my dad. My dad does that stuff. So my dad wanted to go ahead to Home Depot, and he wanted to go pick up some other supplies while I stayed at a house that we were fixing the deck of, and he wanted me to go ahead and take care of the truck, just in case if anybody, you know, robs this stuff, because you know, my dad doesn't want any of his shit robbed. So I was right there. I was just, you know, relaxing, doing nothing, just on my phone, just relaxing. And then all of a sudden, I got a notification on my phone from the WWE Network, on the WWE app on my phone. And the message that I got was, it said right there. And when I read this message, guys, I was like, I mean, I stood still, and some chills went down my spine for a little bit. When I heard this news, I was like stunned. And the news is that Bruno Sammartino passed away. And I was like, wow, Bruno Sammartino passed away. I was like stunned, man. I was speechless. I didn't know what to say. I opened the article up. I read the article. I was like, wow, dude. And the one thing is that was so shocking to me is Bruno Sammartino was in good shape for his age. I mean, every day Bruno Sammartino would just go ahead and he would still work out. For a guy his age, he would still work out. And Bruno Sammartino was in phenomenal shape for his age. He was doing great. But this news just came all of a sudden on Thursday when this happened. Well, he died on Wednesday, but we all got the news on Thursday. And when that happened, I was like, dude, wow. And to let you guys know, I didn't know that much about Bruno Sammartino before, until Bruno Sammartino got inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2013. And I did see his induction speech. I did see the WWE Hall of Fame in 2013. And it's one of my favorite WWE Hall of Fame shows. It's one of my favorites, because I got to see right there, I got to see Trish Stratus go in, Bruno Sammartino, we got to see Booker T, and yeah, that right there was one of my favorite Hall of Fames. But yeah, when Bruno Sammartino was doing his induction speech, I sat back and I listened to what Bruno Sammartino had to say, and I learned so much about him, about his American Dream story. I mean, everybody knows the story about Bruno Sammartino coming to America, and the story about him escaping from the Nazis in the war when he was in Italy. I mean, Bruno Sammartino has a great background story, man. I mean, you have to give this guy so much respect. And when he came to America, he lived the American dream, and he became a freaking legendary wrestler in the whole entire world, in WWE, everywhere. Everybody knows who Bruno Sammartino is, except for the young generation, because apparently I think everybody that didn't know who Bruno Sammartino was, and when they got to listen to him in his Hall of Fame speech at the WWE Hall of Fame of 2013, they got to know so much about Bruno Sammartino, especially me. I got to know so much about him, and I gave huge respect to him. And man, dude, just to hear that news that he just passed away, it was like a huge knife that just went through a lot of wrestling fans that were a fan of his. It just hurt them really bad, and especially for the young people that didn't know who Bruno Sammartino was. They finally found out who this guy is, and then a few years later, he like passes on, and that kind of sucks, dude. That really sucks for Bruno Sammartino. And you know what? We will never forget all the stuff that Bruno Sammartino did for the WWE. And if you guys don't know, Bruno Sammartino, of course, he is a major superstar, one of the legendary wrestlers that everybody knows. I mean, Bruno Sammartino freaking sold out Madison Square Garden 188 times. 188 times. And also, not only that, but Bruno Sammartino was the longest reigning WWE champion of all freaking time. You think CM Punk is the longest reigning WWE champion of all time? Hell no. You think the Fabulous Moolah has the record of the freaking having the women's championship belt for the longest time? Hell no. Bruno Sammartino hold that belt for 4,400 days. And plus, that is like, okay, let me give you guys kind of all that stuff. So Bruno had the belt for 4,400 days, and he had the belt for 8 years in WWE, and then he left. Then he came back and he held the belt 4 more years. So add that, 8 plus 4, that's 12 years. 12 years Bruno Sammartino has held the WWE Championship belt. That's fucking crazy, man. That right there is huge respect for the legendary Bruno Sammartino, and everybody knows that he was that damn good, and that's why he should get like so much respect, man. And that's when we heard that news, and now everybody is just like all like saddened to hear the news of Bruno Sammartino that he died. And I didn't actually know that he was 77 years old when he got inducted into the Hall of Fame. And that was like, wow, man, this guy is like big deal. And 5 years later, he's not here anymore. So yeah, it's really sad. But also, I want to read you guys the article on WWE.com just to tell you guys all the stuff that says right here on the article on WWE.com. So the article says, WWE is saddened to learn that WWE Hall of Famer Bruno Sammartino passed away at the age of 82. The story of Bruno Sammartino is the story of the American dream. During his childhood in the small Italian mountain town of Pizzoforato in the Abruzzi region of Italy, Bruno Sammartino heard stories about how the streets in the United States were paved with gold. Though he believed it literally at the time, Sammartino would experience fortune and fame firsthand as the longest reigning WWE champion and the most beloved competitor in history of the Squared Circle. Life wasn't always so glorious for the Italian Superman. Bruno's brother and sister both passed away at a young age, and Adolf Hitler's Nazi forces seized their town. but Bruno persevered. He and his mother hid in the mountain called Via Woka during the German occupation, and eventually joined the immigrant father in Pittsburgh in 1950. And to let you guys know, I wasn't born at that time. When all this happened, I wasn't born at that time. I was born in 1994, so this was way past my time. Way past my time. Sammartino began lifting weights as a young man and grew to become one of the strongest men on the planet after setting a world record in 1959 by bench pressing 565 pounds. Sammartino caught the eye of Vincent J. McMahon. If you guys don't know who Vincent J. McMahon is, that's Vince Sr., Mr. McMahon's father, and became a sports entertainer. Bruno became a overnight sensation, connecting with not only fellow Italians, but also the Latino, Greeks, and Jewish communities, successfully bridging the gap in America's melting pot of wrestling fans. His legend continued to grow on May 17, 1963, when Sammartino defeated Buddy Rogers in just 48 seconds to become the second ever WWE champion in front of nearly 20,000 fans at the old Madison Square Garden Arena. Bruno held the WWE Championship belt for nearly 8 years, by far the longest reign of all time, and a record for a professional wrestling champions. No matter the organization, a household name all over the country, the beloved hero defending his title in legendary rivalries against WWE Hall of Famers Killer Kowalski, Gorilla Monsoon, and George the Animal Steele. In early 1968, Sammartino headlined the first wrestling event at the brand new Madison Square Garden just 8 days after it opened. The Garden truly was the house that Bruno built, as he sold it out outstanding 187 times. Oh, I got that wrong. My bad. I said, what did I say? 188? Yeah. Wait a minute. Oops. I got that wrong then. I went over. Wait a minute. Didn't I? Oh, I think maybe it's because I counted the Hall of Fame by accident. Whoops. My bad. No, never mind. It's 187. Okay, my bad, guys. I got that wrong. Sorry about that. When he lost the title to Ivan Koloff in 1971, grown men in the crowd were seen weeping. But on December 10th, 1973, Sammartino became the first two-time WWE champion and held the title for an additional 3.5 years. Okay, so I thought it was 4 years. My bad. My bad, guys. Got kind of the whole championship of Bruno Sammartino wrong back. But still, he got the belt. He held the belt for 8 years, and he got the belt for like 3.5 years. So that's basically kind of like almost 12 years if you can count that. But not really. But still. On August 9th, 1980, Sammartino defeated his former protege Larry Zbyszko inside a steel cage at New York City's Shea Stadium. I think that's how you say it. Shea Stadium? I don't know. In front of more than 35,000 people. The heated grudge match broke box office records for wrestling events, and Bruno retired from the ring the following year. Bruno returned to WWE in the mid-80s as a broadcaster alongside Mr. McMahon and as a member for his son David, who was just beginning his grappling career. Now known as the Living Legend, Bruno also engaged in several rivalries with a generation of WWE's greatest villains, including Rowdy Roddy Piper, God rest his soul, the Macho Man Randy Savage, God rest his soul, and the Honky Tonk Man. The star power and influence of Sammartino was exemplified by the fact that he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame by none other than Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was the 188th and final time that Sammartino headlined and sold out Madison Square Garden. I win. I knew it. I completely forgot about that. I read the article when this news came out, and now this is right there, 188. So I got that right. I don't know. It's been a crazy week. So, WWE extends his condolences to Sammartino's family, friends, and fans. So yeah, guys, that is what the article says about the late, great, and living legend Bruno Sammartino. And yeah, I completely forgot about the rivalry that Bruno Sammartino had with Larry Zbyszko. And if you guys don't know, Larry Zbyszko is a WWE Hall of Famer, and he was inducted by Bruno Sammartino at the WWE Hall of Fame. I think it was 2014, 2015. I completely forgot what year that was. Let's see what else that Bruno Sammartino that I completely forgot about. Oh yeah, also, if I remember, what was that? I remember Bruno Sammartino. Also, there was a story about Bruno Sammartino that he got injured. Oh, got it. There was a wrestling match between Bruno Sammartino and Stan Hansen, and I think it was Stan Hansen that broke Bruno Sammartino's neck. Wasn't it? Wasn't it Stan Hansen, or was it somebody else? Shit, who was? It was some. Let me see. Let me check if I got that wrong. Let me see. If it was Stan Hansen that broke his neck, I want to see who it was. How would I get this right? Let's see. Let's say right here. Yeah, right there. Yep, it says it right here. Yep, there was a match between Stan Hansen and Bruno Sammartino, and during the match, Bruno Sammartino got his neck broken by Stan Hansen. Okay, so I got that right there. So I got that right. Good. I got my history a little bit good, even though I kind of fucked up a little bit right here by about the 188 bit. It says right here, I got it right. So I'm doing good. I'm knowing my history right now, so that's great. It's always good. It's always good to know about wrestling history. That way you get to know everything, so that way people won't freaking accuse you for not knowing history. So yeah, that's kind of good. So I got that right. I'm good. But yeah, guys, like the article said, all the stuff that Bruno Sammartino did was legendary. It was great. It was awesome. I mean, huge respect to Bruno Sammartino, and he will be dearly missed by everybody. And I know everybody is really affected about this, especially the huge fans of Bruno Sammartino, and especially people that grew up watching Bruno Sammartino. I mean, Bruno Sammartino was just a great what's that word? A great inspiration and a great model figure to a bunch of people who are watching wrestling at a young age. And now the people that grew up watching Bruno Sammartino now found out the sad news that he is no longer with us, that he has passed on to the other life. And it is kind of sad to find that out. But you know, guys, all we can say is that Bruno Sammartino lived a great life as a WWE wrestler and a great superstar in wrestling, legendary wrestler in the whole entire world. Sorry about that. That was my phone. I'll put that on mute. Sorry about that. But yeah, like I said, guys, Bruno Sammartino will be dearly missed, and nobody will ever forget about what he did or what he has done right here in his life. And everybody will always remember him. They will go ahead and watch his own matches, and they will say, man, Bruno Sammartino was a great wrestler, and we miss him. So that's all I can say, guys. But like I said, guys, before I didn't know that much about Bruno Sammartino, but once the WWE Hall of Fame 2013 came by, and I got to see who he was and learn so much about him, his speech about him coming to Italy, escaping the Nazis, living the American dream, becoming one of the greatest superstars, one of the greatest wrestlers and greatest legendary wrestlers in WWE and in the world. And yeah, that's all about it that I can say about Bruno Sammartino. But all we can say is that rest in peace, Bruno Sammartino, and thank you so much for entertaining the people. Even though I wasn't even born at that time, that on behalf of all the people that watched Bruno Sammartino through his life wrestling, entertain all the fans that were entertaining the fans through his time becoming a wrestler, thank you. And even though, like I said, I didn't know that much about Bruno Sammartino until the WWE Hall of Fame 2013, I get to know so much about him, and I have huge respect for him. So rest in peace, Bruno Sammartino, and you will be dearly missed. But also, guys, before I end this video, I just want to say that I want to put up an audio clip of Bruno Sammartino being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. I'm going to try to do my best to see if I can pull that clip up at the end of this video. But you know how WWE has that kind of, you know, copyright issues and all that stuff. So I'm going to try to see if I can get Bruno Sammartino's speech into this video. And also Arnold Schwarzenegger inducting him too, because I don't want to leave Arnold Schwarzenegger out, because he was the one that inducted Bruno Sammartino in. And everybody knows that Bruno Sammartino and Arnold Schwarzenegger were good friends at the time. And actually, they were still friends at the time, of course. But I want to try to see and do my best to try and put the audio of Bruno Sammartino being inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. I'll try my best, but if I can't do it, then the video will just end right here. So anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to pay respects to Bruno Sammartino about his passing. And that's about it, guys. So anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Stay tuned, cool, guys. Bye.
And now here in Madison Square Garden, to induct the legendary Bruno Sammartino into the WWE Hall of Fame, he is a 7-time Mr. Olympia. He is a Hollywood megastar. Ladies and gentlemen, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I want to thank Vince McMahon and Triple H for inviting me here this evening to celebrate with all of you. Wow, look at all these people here. This place is packed. I'm asking myself, where were all of you when my movie came out last January? Can't believe it. But anyway, let me just tell you, first I want to congratulate all the inductees to the WWE Hall of Fame. These are all great, great wrestlers, great athletes. They're powerful, they're great inspirations. So I want to say thank you to all of them for all the great entertainment they've brought to us and all the great inspiration they've brought them. Let's give them a big, big hand. Such wonderful and great athletes. And also congratulations to Donald Trump for being the celebrity. He sure is. And of course, I have the great pleasure of introducing Bruno Sammartino. Bruno Sammartino, I mean, you know, you don't even know where to begin. I mean, think about that. The guy can bench press. When he was in his top shape, he bench pressed 565 pounds. He squatted with over 600 pounds. He did deadlift with over 700 pounds. He military pressed 450 pounds. I mean, that guy had so much power. And I know a little bit about power, let me tell you. As a matter of fact, I'm very proud that at my age, last week I still lifted 400 pounds. I lifted Chris Christie out of his chair. Hey. It was tough. My back still hurts, but I mean, I did it. But anyway, this is such an unbelievable story, this Bruno Sammartino story. I mean, not only did he do all this lifting and was he that strong, but he won the world championships in wrestling, in professional wrestling, 11 years in a row. Think about that, 11 years. That's more than 4,000 days. And he filled the Madison Square Garden each time he wrestled here. I mean, he filled the garden 187 times, and the day it sold out again, so he broke the record, and it's 188 times that he has filled the Madison Square Garden. He has such an unbelievable life story. I said to him, I said, Bruno, please, let's do a movie of your life. I said, and I want to play you. And he said to me, he says, Arnold, I would like to have an actor play me. You can get no respect. How do you like that, huh? But anyway, I'm so excited to be here and to talk about him because I met him in the late 60s. I met him in the late 60s when I was competing in the Mr. Olympia contest, and there was Bruno Sammartino amongst the judges. He was judging the Mr. Olympia competition. I looked at my friend and I said, look at this guy. Look how huge he is. Huge neck, the trapezius was sticking out. Delto, it's like cannonballs. The chest was like a fortress. Huge lats. The thighs were coming out of his pants. And I'm looking at it and I said, there is something wrong here in America. I just came from Europe. I said, there's something wrong in America. I said that the judges look bigger than us athletes up here on stage. What's going on here? I mean, it was fantastic. And then I was so excited seeing this guy. And my friend said, this is the world's greatest wrestler. And I was so honored that he was judging the Mr. Olympia competition. So after the pre-judging was over, I went over to him and I had a great conversation. And he's such a nice and kind human being. And I'm so proud of him because he's such a great immigrant. I mean, what a great immigrant story. To come over here from Italy, I mean, when he was a kid, they had to run away from the Nazis. And he almost died several times, and his mother brought him back. And then he moved over here to Pittsburgh. And there he was bullied around. He was bullied around because he had an accent and because he was scrawny. But then he started lifting weights, and then he started wrestling, and he started getting bigger and better. And then all of a sudden, all the bullies disappeared. And then he continued, and he became the world champion in wrestling. And he became this great inspiration. Not only did he wrestle for these millions of people, but he brought so much great inspiration to so many millions of children and got them turned on into working out and staying away from alcohol and from drugs and from gangs and all this crazy stuff, and to get involved in sports and in wrestling. So he has made such great contributions to this country. This is why I'm so excited here. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the great wrestler, the great champion, the great Bruno Sammartino.
Thank you. Thank you so very, very much. It's Thank you. Thank you. My. I so thank you. For a minute there, you brought me back 50, that you turned the clock back 50 years right now. I almost felt like I was ready to run towards the ring. But of course, it's only a dream at this stage of my life. I'm an old man today. But when I headlined here, 50 years ago, perhaps it was your parents or grandparents that were here, but tonight I feel like they're all here because this wonderful reception you gave me brought me back to those days, and I thank you. I thank you. This is indeed an extremely special night for me. Very, very special, and if I may, I have to speak to you about certain things that are very important to me in my life. First of all, I want to say a big thank you to a good friend, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Here's a guy. We became good friends, as he said, in the 60s and 70s, and then, of course, my career was coming to an end. And, of course, after winning everything there was to win in bodybuilding, he went into acting, and he became a big champion in the movie industry, in box office champion. And then not only that, but the guy goes into politics, twice governor of California. Amazing. Amazing. Not bad for a young fella coming from Austria. I think that the rules changed in America to where you didn't have to be American born. This was a serious candidate to become president of the United States. But so I thank him for making it. This night is so special for me for a number of reasons, and I want to thank him for making it also very special for him. As he told me last month in Columbus, when I was inducted into the International Sports Hall of Fame, he says, and of course speaking to Triple H, who made the trip over there, and he spoke to Arnold because he's also friends with Arnold, and Arnold said he wanted to be here tonight, and if it was possible because of his ridiculous schedule, but the man made the proper changes, and he was here tonight, and so I'm very grateful. To be inducted into an Hall of Fame, of course, it's extremely special. We, as wrestlers, those in the wrestling business, to be inducted into an Hall of Fame, it means that you're getting recognition for the contribution, hopefully, you made to the game, for everything, you know, that you're given, that you tried so hard, the best you possibly could, and at the end you get rewarded with something like that, the Hall of Fame. But in my case, I'm grateful for this great honor of the Hall of Fame. But to happen here in Madison Square Garden, that is... I have a quiet history in this building, and I'd like to share a little bit of it with you. For one thing, I'm extremely proud that I headlined Madison Square Garden more time than anyone in the history of Madison Square Garden. I'm very proud of that. I can hardly believe it when I tell you this, that it was 50 years ago that I became the Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion in Madison Square Garden, 50 years ago. How many of you were even born yet then? It's a long time ago. It was in Madison Square Garden that the H-Tac Scalu, nobody had ever been able to pick him up, and I said, given the opportunity, I will lift him. And I did in Madison Square Garden, and let me tell you, I thought that night the roof was going to fly off the garden. I'd never seen the people went so absolutely wild when I picked him up in the air. But I could tell you many other great events that happened in the garden, but I must tell you how grateful I am of what the garden did for me. Because, you know, in this country, in every city, we have beautiful arenas everywhere. And they may be bigger than the garden even, or maybe even, I haven't been around because I've been retired a long time, maybe even nicer looking, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, anywhere you go around the world, the one arena that everybody knows is Madison Square Garden. And when you're so fortunate, as I was, to headline Madison Square Garden for all those years, the garden gave me the kind of publicity worldwide, because for one thing, here in New York, that's where all the magazines were published. and there was many as 10 magazines published a month. And because of headlining in the Garden, I would appear in maybe 6 and 7 on the cover of those magazines. And those magazines would go all over the world. So that when I started, not me, when, you know, Vince McMahon Sr., when he was getting requests from other countries about me making some appearances there, because of Madison Square Garden, I was automatically the headliner everywhere I went. Other different countries that I wrestled in, I always went as the headliner because of Madison Square Garden. So the Madison Square Garden has meant an awful lot to me, and it did so much for me. But let me tell you, I have to go back a little bit so you'll understand why I say that I'm one of the luckiest guys in the world. For me, it could have all ended in my childhood, as Arnold mentioned. When we were occupied by the Nazis, 1/3 of my town was completely wiped out when they first invaded us. Pizza Federato, that's right. And we took off in the middle of the night. We ran for the mountains. Those of us who made it to those mountains, we went through 14 months of sheer hell. One has to appear in those mountains to see how ferocious, for example, the winters were. No food. My father had come here when I was 3 months old. He came to America to work, always to build over there, because that's where, you know, he planned on having our future there. But when the war came, my dad was stuck in America because they closed all passages, and my mom stuck with all the kids in the other side. So you can imagine hiding in those mountains and having the responsibility of these kids. She used to climb down that mountain, which was a 24-hour journey one way. She would sneak into our town while the Nazis were sleeping upstairs. Because we lived off our land, she would get a little sack, and she would sneak down the basement, and she would fill it with potatoes, corn, whatever she could get her hands on. And we would ration it to make it last as long as possible so Mom wouldn't have to make the journey again. One time she was captured and she barely escaped. Another time she was shot, and by the time she made it back up that mountain, she had nearly bled to death. But there was nothing stopping her because she had children that depended on her for their survival. I tell you that I was so lucky because up in that mountain we buried a lot of people because of the very old and the very young, because of lack of food, because of the bitter winter, because of sicknesses. And if the war had gone on a couple more months, I would have been up in that mountain as well, and nobody would have ever heard the name of Bruno Sammartino because I came down with a terrible sickness. It was diagnosed later that I had rheumatic fever. And for 3.5 years, I was a very, very sick child. And when the Germans finally moved out and the Allies came into our town, we were able to come back. And when the Red Cross came through to check on the sick, the wounded and what have you, they told my mother to be prepared because this kid will not be here tomorrow. I was given a death sentence, but my mother, she said, I lost 2 children. I lost a sister named Anita, and I lost a brother named Sandrino. And my mother said, I will not lose another child. And she didn't. As you can see, I'm still here. My mother put leeches on my body. The theory was that leeches take the poison blood out of your system. She would boil water and lift me up because I couldn't stand or walk and make me inhale the fumes. I don't know if there was anything to that thing, to those remedies, but all I know is with her love and care, I lived. And in fact, in 1947, I was supposed to come to America, and I stopped my family from coming because I couldn't pass a physical because I was so deathly sick. We had to wait 3 more years. In 1950, we finally came here. And as grateful as we were to arrive to America, but things weren't really all that rosy for us because when we came here, couldn't speak a word of English, so we started going to school, language school, my brother and I. But as you know, kids, not today, we hear so much about bullying. Well, my brother was huskier, healthier than I because he hadn't been sick. He defended himself well enough that the bullies laid off. In my case, I fought back too. But in my weakened condition, I always got the worst of it, and I always came home with a bloody nose or a black eye or a cut lip or whatever. But a friend who felt sorry for me, he introduced me to the Y. And when I went to the Y, I kid you not, I couldn't lift a feather. I was so weak. But somehow, that night when I was walking home, I said, there's something very positive and good is going to come out of this. And I kept going, and I kept going. Pretty soon, I was a 84-pound bag of bones and skin. And pretty soon, I started seeing little muscles start popping up in the body. And that inspired me, and it encouraged me to work harder and work harder. And when I got husky enough, I joined the wrestling team in school. And I loved both sports, and I kept training. And to tell you how hard I trained and what I accomplished during that time, I came here 83, 84 pounds. 10 years later, I was 275 pounds, and I was considered one of the strongest men in the world because of my lifting. When I turned professional, I had, I think, a pretty great career of 25 years. For a quarter of a century, I was in the business. And let me tell you, as all these wrestlers that are here now that are experienced what I'm going to tell you about, wrestling is a tough business, not only because of what goes on in the ring and the hard blows that we take, that the human body really wasn't meant for that stuff, but more than that, you know. Baseball, football, basketball, hockey, they're seasonal sports, so maybe 6 months out of the year. But in our game, it's all year round. And if you're lucky enough to make it to the top, as we say, the demands come greater, and therefore all year round you're traveling all over. My first 8 years reign as champion, I used to wrestle 7 days one week and 6 days the following week. I would get 2 days out of the month to go see my family. And that's not very healthy for family life. But let me tell you, I was also extremely lucky. I married my high school sweetheart, and 54 years later, we're still married. Yes, indeed. I've been a very, very lucky man. I have much to be grateful for. Thank you. But those 24 years, 25 years, as these guys can tell you, it take a great toll on your body. In fact, might have been even a little tougher in my day because they had those crazy boxing rings, and those things were like concrete. They had to be reinforced with steel posts underneath because fighters, they wouldn't lose their footings. And when you're getting body slammed and all these other crazy things that you go through, after time and time and time and year after year after year, you pay a price. And God knows I paid one too, because after 25 years when I retired, I was happy that that day had come because I had spent much too many years away. And now I look forward to being with my family, with my wife and my children and so forth. But unfortunately, I was hurting. I was hurting very, very bad because anybody who knows me from my era, I had some serious injuries. And I was a guy who wouldn't even take an aspirin or any kind of a painkiller or anything like that. I just sucked it up, as the old saying goes, and I kept on going. But I reached a point where I just felt like the body couldn't continue. And it was time for me, and I had to start thinking of getting out. But there again, I was such a very lucky guy. Because with all these injuries, and I was in pain 24 hours a day, happy to be home, but suffering all the time. And then, you know, there were two gentlemen there, they've come here from Pittsburgh. One of these gentlemen, he's involved with the WWE and their wellness program and the drug testing and all that. A renowned neurosurgeon, a brilliant, brilliant man. And there's another gentleman here who's a great friend of mine that has been taking care of me for many, many years. He's a doctor, Dr. Frank Costa. These two gentlemen worked miracles. They saved, I don't know how many lives with their magic, because they're so great at what they do in the medical field. And they made so much better quality of life for so many people. And when they took me on with all these things, I required over maybe 10, I don't know, maybe 8 major surgeries. But today, I'm an old guy. I'm almost 78 years old in a couple of months. And yet, and because of these guys, these men who are so gifted, here I am, an old guy, and I still train 6 days a week, and I'm feeling great shape, and I owe it all to them for all that they were able to do for me. There's so many people that of course, I can't name them, but I would like to show my gratitude to a lot of people. For one thing, so many people came from Pittsburgh because they wanted to be here for me. Some came by plane, some drove here, some took the Greyhound bus, and some came by train. But they're here, and I'm so very grateful to them. I have friends from Washington, D.C. who called me when they found out I was announced to appear in Hall of Fame here. I had from Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Boston, and Florida. They all wanted to be here, and they're all here for me, and I'm so grateful to them. But let me tell you something that I'm mostly grateful and I say this from the bottom of my heart. You know, in this business, if you have the opportunity to become a so-called headliner, a promoter looks at you, perhaps he sees that there's some talent there, he sees how the fans react to you, and they give you a shot at being a headliner. Now, how do you stay on as a headliner? Well, if people come and fill those seats, you get to be a headliner again. If people don't come and fill those seats, your headlining days could be very short. I was one of the luckiest guys in the world, because when I was given that opportunity, the fans, all the fans did come out. And as they came out, they kept me as the headliner. And then again, because I headlined in the Garden so much, I was a headliner when I went to all the different countries that I wrestled to, always as a headliner. It was just so amazing, because the Garden went everywhere, and promoters would call Vince McMahon and say to him, Vince, they say, I'd like to have the service of your champion in San Francisco, in Los Angeles. And I would travel to these places, and I was fortunate everywhere because of the Garden, the publicity from the Garden, the magazines. I'd go to California, wrestle guys, greats like Ray Stevens, and we sold the place out. Kowalski, we sold out in Los Angeles. Florida, we packed them in. Atlanta, everywhere we went because of the publicity, again, I say, from the Garden. So I want to conclude, because it's late and we'll be going here too long, but I just want to say this, that I'm very grateful for tonight, for Arnold, for the WWE who sees me worthy of this honor, and the opportunity to have appeared in Madison Square Garden one more time. I'm very grateful for that. But most of all, I want all the fans, whether in this country or around the world, if this gets televised everywhere, that whatever success I've had, I owe it all to you, because if you didn't come out and support me the way you did, I would have never become anybody. So I thank you. I thank you for the support and the kindness you showed me for all these years. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you, and God bless all of you. Thank you.